Morning, everyone. Hope everything is okay with you. Hope that you're not being terribly affected by COVID and praying for your families. Tonight, or actually it's daytime out there, today's chapter in Principles of Management is chapter 8, The Manager as a Planner and a Strategist. Today's learning objectives identify the three main steps of the planning process and the relationships between planning and strategy. Describe some techniques managers can use to improve the planning process so that they could better predict the future and mobilize organizational resources to meet those future contingencies. Differentiate among the main types of business level strategies and explain how they can have an organizational effect on competitive advantage and that could lead to superior performance. Differentiate among the main types of corporate level strategies and explain how they are used to strengthen a company's business level strategy and competitive advantage. Describe the role managers play in implementing those strategies to achieve organizational mission and goals. Planning and strategy. Planning is the function of identifying and selecting appropriate goals. And we mentioned appropriate goals, those are those that align with resources and capabilities of the organization and courses of action for the organization. The organizational plan that results from the planning process details the goals and the specific strategies managers will implement to attain these goals. Strategy is a cluster of decisions about what goals to pursue, what actions to take, and how to use resources to achieve those goals. Mission statement is the who we are and what we do. It's a broad declaration of an organization's purpose that identifies the organization's products and customers and distinguishes the organization from its competitors. 3 steps in the planning process. Determining the organization's mission and goals, define the business, establish those goals, formulate strategy, analyze current situation and develop strategies, implement strategies, which is allocating resources and responsibilities to achieve those strategies. I just want to give you an example. I just passed the slide, the example of LinkedIn's mission. Their mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And what's beautiful about this mission statement is that it is short and sweet. Some organizations tend to create like 4 or 5 block sentences. I've even seen one organization that had an entire paragraph. You're going to lose that. You're going to lose people. You need to be short, sweet, to the point, something memorable. The nature of the planning process. Number 1, establish and discover where an organization is at the present time. Determine its desired future state. Decide how to move it forward to reach that future state. Why is planning important? It is necessary to give the organization a sense of direction and purpose. It's a useful way of getting managers to participate in decision making about the appropriate goals and strategies for the organization. Helps coordinate managers of the different functions, different departments and divisions of an organization, and can be used as a device for controlling managers. This way you can know what they are up to and what they need to be up to. And when I mean by controlling, I don't mean it in the theory X way, just by knowing where they stand. And it also helps the managers know where they stand. Unity. At any one time, only one central guiding plan is put into operation. Continuity. Planning is an ongoing process in which managers build and refine previous plans and continually modify plans at all levels. Accuracy. Managers need to make every attempt to collect and utilize all available information at their disposal. The more accurate the information, the better it is used in the planning process. Flexibility. Plans can be altered if the situation changes. Figure 8.2, you could look at that on your own, is basically a corporate level planning process at GE. You have your CEO, the corporate office, and the various business or division levels, such as digital aviation. GE is an enormous company with many, many different arms. And then within any of the divisions, they use aviation as an example. You have manufacturing, marketing, research and development, and human resources, which would probably be the same in many of the other organizations. Figure 8.3 is levels and types of planning. You have goal setting, strategy formulation, and strategy implementation, all on the corporate level, business level, and the functional level. And in the business level, we deal with divisional goals, and the functional level, which is departmental, we deal with departmental goals. And in goal setting, in the corporate on the corporate level, which is the mission and goals, we have strategy formulation, corporate level strategy, and of course strategy implementation, design of corporate structure, and control. And you'll have the same thing for the other levels, the business and the functional. Let us now discuss what they are, the differences between corporate and business and functional. Corporate level plan, top manager's decision pertaining to the organization's mission, overall strategy, and structure. The strategy on the corporate level is a plan that indicates in which industries and national markets an organization intends to compete. This way, this will help them realize their mission. The business level plan, long-term divisional goals, such as manufacturing in GE or capital. Long-term divisional goals that will allow the division to meet corporate goals. Division business level strategy and structure to achieve divisional goals. Business level strategy outlines the specific methods a division, business unit, or organization will use to compete effectively against its rivals in an industry. The functional level plan, goals that managers of each function will pursue to help their division attain its business level goals. Functional strategy, a plan of action to improve the ability of each of the organization's functions to perform its task-specific activities in ways that add value to an organization's goods and services. Time horizon is a period of time over which plans are intended to apply or endure. Long-term plans are usually 5 years or more. Intermediate term plans are 1 to 5 years, and short-term plans are less than 1 year. Standing plans used in situations in which program decisions is appropriate. A program decision is a decision that you make all the time. You've already done the research. You don't need to think about it twice. Policies are general guides to action. Rules are formal written guides to action, and standard operating procedures are written instructions describing the exact series of actions that should be followed in a specific situation. Single-use plans developed to handle non-program decision-making in unusual or one-of-a-kind situations. Programs, integrated sets of plans achieving certain goals. Project-specific action plans to complete various aspects of a program. Scenario planning, otherwise known as contingency planning, is the generation of multiple forecasts of future conditions followed by an analysis of how to respond effectively to each of these conditions. A perfect example is our COVID pandemic. The CDC, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx had various different projections of possible worst case, best case scenarios. Governor Cuomo did the same thing, and based on those statistics, they were able to plan accordingly, proper handling of expanding medical system, having enough beds, ventilators, etc. You have to be prepared for the worst, and hope for the best. And that is what is involved in scenario planning. And at each scenario, you have to have different levels of actions and different things that you need to plan for and budget for. And that's why it's so important, to have this done. Determining the organization's mission and goals, defining the business, who are our customers, what customer needs are being satisfied, how are we satisfying those customer needs, establishing major goals, provides the organization with a sense of direction. Figure 8.4, 3 mission statements. I want to look at Google's, which is, I think, the best mission statement out there, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Twitter, to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. And Facebook, to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. Another function of Twitter is to keep our dear President Trump entertained every day, and all of us as well. Strategic leadership, the ability of the CEO and top managers to convey a compelling vision of what they want the organization to achieve to their subordinates. Strategic formulation, the development of a set of corporate, business, and functional strategies that allow an organization to accomplish its mission and achieve its goals. SWOT analysis, we're looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a planning exercise in which managers identify internal organizational strengths and weaknesses and external environmental opportunities and threats. So therefore, a SWOT analysis is basically like having 2 computer screens. One is looking at the internal functions of the organization, one is looking at the external, internal being the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats being the external aspects of the organization. So they have to keep their eyes on that radar screen at all times. Questions for SWOT analysis. You could look at the next slide. That would be slide number 28. We'll expand it. Just look at a couple of the questions to be asked. Some of the potential strengths. Do we have a well-developed strategy? How are our research and development skills and leadership skills? Do we have good materials management, which is very, very important? Potential opportunities. Do we expand core business? Do we exploit new market segments? Do we seek faster market growth? Potential weaknesses: poor marketing, decline in research and development, innovation, high conflict in policies, infighting among divisions, for example, and potential threats: attacks on core business, increase in domestic competition, potential for takeover, changes in demographic factors, rising labor costs, and of course, things like the pandemic that we're going through right now will impact all businesses. Move on to slide 29, figure 8.5, planning and strategy formulation. So the SWOT analysis, again, is a planning exercise to identify strengths and weaknesses inside an organization and opportunities and threats in the environment. And again, they impact the corporate level, business level, and functional level. They impact the corporate level because a plan of action is needed to manage the growth and development of an organization so as to maximize its long-run ability to create value. Business level strategy, a plan of action to take advantage of favorable opportunities and find ways to counter threats so as to compete effectively in an industry. And finally, functional level strategy, a plan of action to improve the ability of an organization's departments to create value. The five forces model, this is a very, very important model that is all over business management, business policy, etc. We look at the levels of rivalry in an industry, potential for new entrants, the power of large suppliers. We look at the power of large customers to see whose hand is on the upper hand, and the threat of substitute products. A substitute is threatening when it's easily substitutable, meaning that you don't have a lot of switching costs, and of course a substitute is found readily. Hyper competition, permanent, ongoing, intense competition brought about in the industry by advancing technology or changing customer taste, which of course will thwart efforts of other would-be competitors from coming in because they'll say, hey, this iceberg is melting and all the people on the iceberg are trying to get to the top. So therefore, it would definitely be a deterrent. Low-cost strategy, formulating business-level strategies, driving the organization's total cost down below the total cost of rivals so that you have more meat in the bone for yourself. In other words, you may be charging the same amount of money as everyone else, but because you have lower costs, you're retaining more profit. Differentiation, distinguishing an organization's products from the products of competitors on dimensions such as product design, quality, or after-sales service. Stuck in the middle, attempting to simultaneously pursue both a low-cost and a differentiation strategy, which is next to impossible because when you differentiate, there's a lot of customization. It costs money to customize. And it's also difficult to achieve low cost with the added cost of differentiation. Focus low cost, serving only one segment of the overall market and trying to be the lowest cost organization serving that segment. Focus differentiation, serving only one segment of the overall market and trying to be the most differentiated organization serving that segment. Next, concentration on a single industry, reinvesting a company's profits to strengthen its competitive position in its current industry. And of course, vertical integration, very important, expanding a company's operations either backward into an industry that produces inputs for its products or forward into an industry that uses, distributes, or sells its products. So just using an example of a company level doing this, a company doing it, not so much on an industry, but on a company level. Let's say, for example, and this is not true, but this is just an example, Coca-Cola want to do backward vertical integration, and they would go back and possibly buy its own sugarcane plantations so that it won't be impacted by the rising cost of sugar in the world. Forward would be buying a fleet of trucks as opposed to leasing them, renting them, buying its own bottling companies and having its own distribution channels owned by Coke, which I'm sure it does in many areas. So that would be an example of Coca-Cola doing that. Diversification, expanding a company's business operation into a new industry in order to produce a new kind of valuable goods or services. And of course, international expansion where appropriate. Related diversification, entering a new business or industry to create a competitive advantage in one or more of an organization's existing division or business. So staying related, staying on point, staying in your genre. Unrelated diversification, entering a new industry or buying a company in a new industry that is not related in any way to an organization's current business or industries. Synergy, obtained when the value created by two divisions cooperating is greater than the value that would be created if the two divisions operated separately and independently. Multi-domestic strategy, customizing the products and marketing strategies to specific national conditions, helps gain local market share, raises production costs. Figure 8.7 looks at 4 ways to expand internationally. I'm going to skip to the appendix. On the bottom is a little hyperlink. So Appendix 6, Figure 8.7, 4 ways to expand internationally. The level of foreign involvement and investment and degree of risk are shown from low to high on this graphic. Low end begins with importing and exporting. Next is licensing and franchising, and going up to strategic alliances and joint ventures. And of course, at the high end being a wholly owned foreign subsidiary, being completely owned by that. So then we go back to slide number 41. Planning and implementing strategy, allocating responsibility for implementation to the appropriate individual or groups, draft detailed action plans that specify how a strategy is to be implemented, establish a timetable for implementing that includes precise, measurable goals linked to the attainment of the action plan, and allocate appropriate resources to the responsible individuals or groups, and hold specific individuals or groups responsible for the attainment of corporate, divisional, and functional goals. You can watch the next video on your own, Pillow Pets. That's a very, very interesting video. Please watch it. Click on the hyperlink on top and it'll take you to a video. And the rest of the chapter, all the appendices that we went through. Thank you so much for joining, and please stay safe and take care of yourselves. Have a good day.